Teddy, to the world's best, the world's greatest, the world's most informative and fun daily sports betting show on the planet. WagerTalk Today. I'm Lawrence Presman. We got a great lineup. Ronald Cabang will be joining us. Smoking hot Ronald Cabang, absolutely killing it in the WNBA. Yes, that sport is still going on in the midst of all this football. We've got two actionable bets for you in that sport tonight. Adam Trigger, after that, he's going to look at one college football game, the matchup between Syracuse and Stanford, and a baseball bet between the Giants and the Orioles. We're going to end this show with the wonderful Carmine Bianco. He's going to take apart the Chargers and Steelers game as well. Championship League underway. He's got a bet for us on Stuttgart at Real Madrid. I have a presidential address at the end of the show. If we get 100 likes, I will take apart the New York Giants game. They're playing Cleveland plus 6.5, total of 38.5. I will give you both the side and total. And Teddy, my man, what do you got for your big game breakdown?
Big game breakdown. We're going to talk about Florida and Mississippi State in college football action. Big noon on Saturday on ESPN. And that's two teams that have certainly struggled out of the gate to open the 2024 campaign. We'll break that down before this show is through. And we'll talk a little Monday Night Football, what happened last night. And I got a good story from back in the day with the Atlanta Falcons as well. Lawrence?
Guys, we're going to judge if the story that Teddy has coming is good. We'll rate it out of 10, so stay with us all the way. Teddy, it's Customer Appreciation Day. It's Tuesday over at WagerTalk. We now do this every Tuesday. Every handicapper gets to release a play for $5. Mine is on the Thursday night football game. It's up now. It's a 4% play. Ronald Cabang has one as well. We'll talk about that with him a little later. Ronald, welcome to the show. How has your summer been? How has your football been? We know how your WNBA has been. It's been on fire.
Yeah, appreciate it. Summer's been really great. Had a little downswing last month, but back on track right now. Really high right now. 42-20, I think, this month. A lot of that is the WNBA. A 26-10 run in the WNBA, and then we have NFL. I just, we kind of track all our stuff, and I noticed that in the NFL, I've only been with WagerTalk and Sports Memo for, I think, 4 seasons, but I'm all the way up at number 3 all-time in NFL spreads, profit-wise. Wow. So really proud of that, and I'm, obviously we're profitable to start off this season, so hopefully we continue doing that. Then obviously we got NBA on deck, and first 2 seasons with Sports Memo and WagerTalk, I was actually number 1 through both of those years. So a lot of things in the next few months, really, I'm really excited for.
Excellent stuff. And Ronald, yes, I mean, there's a reason that you're with us. Outstanding handicapper. Guys, before we jump into the WNBA, real quick update on Teddy's opening line report. We should have mentioned it at the top of the show. It will be taping today. Teddy, is it live? 1:00 p.m. Eastern today?
Yeah. We're just doing it. I'm interested to see how it works on Tuesday. I've been doing it on Monday every year forever. And yesterday, obviously, we had technical difficulties. It was a fire where the fiber cables were. Wow. So we got about 10 or 15 minutes into the show, and it blew up. So we'll do it again. Today.
Newbie was doing some bong hits and missed. What happened?
I can't answer that question.
Yeah, it was Newbie in the bong hits. Yeah. It's okay, Newbie. You can bleed the fifth in my ear all you want. We know what went down, dude. That was like your 7th bong hit, and you lit the wrong thing. Cabang, the Liberty, they're minus 9.5. That's who you're betting tonight. Tell us why.
Yeah, I actually gave this out to clients yesterday at I think it was 8 or 8.5 last night. Liberty, they're coming off a loss to the Lynx, but I do expect them to bounce back here against a Mystics team that has been struggling on the offensive side of the ball. I think a lot of people are looking towards the Mystics to, obviously this is a large spread, but they're going to be missing 2 key players. Shakira Austin, she's out for the season. Aaliyah Edwards is also considered doubtful tonight, and that's their top 2 rebounders and primary paint defenders. And also, I mean, most of their success in post-Olympic break have been on the defensive side of the ball. And it's going to be really tough to stop this Liberty offense, especially when you're missing 2 players like Edwards and Shakira. If you look at some of the trends that come into this game here, the Liberty, they've been on track to bounce back a lot. I mean, they don't lose a lot, but when they do lose, the next game they do bounce back. The last 3 times they have covered and by a huge margin in their last 3 losses since the Olympic break too. In this spot specifically, on the road 6-1 ATS. The Mystics at home as home underdogs are 2-3 ATS. A couple of things to mention too with the Liberty, they're not mathematically locked into that number 1 seed yet, but a win here would do that. So to me, it makes sense to go ahead and take this easy win with a depleted Mystics team, and then rest their key players in that final game of the season. To me, I feel like even if their key starters maybe sit early in the 4th or whatever it might be, they do have the depth to really maintain a high level of play. And so to me, trend stats, all that stuff, situational spot, everything kind of looking towards the Liberty here. And the line seems to go that way as well. So I would look towards the Liberty here, even at the 9.5, what it is now. I do think that they win by double digits.
So I've got a question for you, Ronald, when it comes to WNBA handicapping versus NBA handicapping. What's the biggest difference between the two, or is it pretty common? There are a lot of commonalities in the way you would approach, because I'm sure the majority of our viewing audience does not handicap the WNBA. I'm sure some of them are interested. Talk about your approach. Yeah. Is it the same as the NBA, and what's different?
I think a couple of things here is, NBA is definitely a lot sharper than the WNBA, especially during this time where you have the NFL, you have college football, everything that, everyone's kind of focusing in on. You can really take advantage of these early lines. Like yesterday, I was able to get Liberty, with about a point and a half of value going into, obviously it's still early this morning. We don't know where the line's going to go, but we do have some CLV at this point if it ended right now. But you can take advantage of early lines if you kind of understand the little differences. And what you mentioned is, what are the differences between the two? The game flow, the game style is a lot different. You're going to see a lot of physicality in the WNBA game where the refs are not going to call fouls. And I think there's a point during the season where players have been complaining because they want to have the same calls as the NBA, but they're not doing that. There's just a whole different level of style of play that you have to get used to. And when you watch the game, you get really frustrated because you see all these women miss these layups, but they're getting hacked really hard. I mean, these are little things that the NBA players get fouls for, and they get to the free throw line, get all these easy buckets. You don't really see that in the WNBA as much. Also, the 3-point shooting, it tends to be a little bit different. I think the WNBA is starting to catch up with analytics, shooting more 3-pointers and all that. But there's just not that many more accurate 3-point shooters in the WNBA than there is in the NBA. So you really got to key in on those teams who have that type of advantage shooting from the 3-point line. And also within the paint, some teams, they have some mid-range folks who could really take advantage of that too. But, to me, I feel like there's a few differences, and those are the main ones.
Ronald Cabang, listen, I said to Teddy in Slack, no follow-up questions. Let's just keep Ronald talking. But Teddy, man, that was a great freaking question. Well worth asking. And it gave me a follow-up as well. My follow-up to Teddy's follow-up to your response was, are you finding the lines softer now with NFL and college football fully underway? Or is it just basically been the same all the way through?
To me, I feel like it's been the same all the way through. I think some things that right now, because it's the last couple of games of the season, the thing that people are probably worrying about is who's going to sit, who's going to rest because of playoff spots, right? But I don't think mathematically every single team currently in the top 8, they're not locked into their spot. There's a few, obviously some teams are going to have to win out. There's 3 teams that are trying to get that last spot in the playoffs as well. So these are things that you have to be aware of when you go into these final games.
Ronald Cabang joining us, everyone. You want to know how big Caitlin Clark is? In Canada, where I live, every game that she plays, they have highlights in our sports desk. It's unbelievable. The Dream -8. Let's go.
Yeah, so this is one of the teams that this is one of the matchups that are crucial for that number 8 spot. Both teams are trying to get that 8 spot. the Sky, I mean, to me, they've really struggled with Angel Reese out, but they did snap out of that 2-game offensive slump. They scored 88 against the Mercury, and that's primarily due to shooting really well from the 3-point range, 14 out of 25 that game. And that's something that's rare for this team. They typically are focused in on, within the paint. I do think that there's a chance we see a bit of a letdown from them. I don't expect them to shoot 14 out of 25 again from 3. On the Dream side, they're coming off an overtime game. And that, to me, I mean, people are going to say, there's going to be fatigue from the key players, but they do have the advantage of having the deeper team in this matchup specifically. On the defensive side of the ball, I think they have the edge. They're likely to capitalize on a lot of points off turnovers. That's something that they've done since the Olympic break. And then on the Dream side as well, they should dominate in the paint. Again, without Angel Reese, this is something that they really struggled with in this matchup specifically throughout the season. Every game so far between these two teams, Angel Reese had a double-double in each one of those. And then Cardoso, she did show up for the shoot-around today, but she is considered game-time decision. So that's something to monitor as well. I think the line did shift just a little bit towards the Dream side overnight, just because I think people were expecting her to sit, but she did show up. So I think the line might move more towards the Sky side again. But from a trend perspective, the Sky have struggled when playing as underdogs of 9 points or less since the Olympic break, and that they're in that range right now. They're 1-6 straight up, 1-6 ATS in that spot, and they're in the full game margin is -12 on average. On the other hand, the Dream, they've been really solid in this situation post Olympic break, 3-1 straight up, 3-1 ATS as favorites. And then for the Dream too, one last trend: 13 wins this season. Only one of them didn't cover, and that was by the hook. They were 5.5 point favorites. They did win by 5 in that game. So to me, a lot of the edges go towards the Dream side, and I think out of the 3 teams, they're the one that's most likely to get that 8th spot. So if I'm betting this one, I would look towards the Dream side.
Atlanta minus the points. Even after the line move, Ronald Cabang says, tap the brakes. You may want to get a better number later in the day. Ron, it's 5 days. WagerTalk.com. Every capper's got a $5 play on their page. What do you have for the clients? $5.
Yeah, I got one on the key matchup tonight between the Storm and the Aces. That's my $5 play. Top play in that one. Really a lot of strong trends and metrics that point towards a single play in that one. And then I talked about a lot of the stats and trends for myself as well with NBA, NFL, WNBA, and all that stuff too. I do have a couple deals going on right now. 30-day all access pass for $199, or you get that full year of all access for $9.99, which is a huge discount off the regular price. And the coupon code for that is RC365. And like I said, this is the time of the year where I really thrive with WNBA, NFL, NBA, all that stuff going on at the same time.
There we go. Ronald Cabang. Great job, Ronald. Love having you on. One quick question if you haven't gone. Is Ronald still with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
One of our listeners wants to know what the most expensive card you have, because I see you have a whole lot in the background.
Most expensive. I haven't looked at values recently, but I do collect a lot of Kevin Durant and Seahawks jerseys. So his rookie year with the Seahawks with the Sonics autographed ones. The most expensive card I sold actually was a UFC card for $15,000. It was Zhang Wei Li. It was her rookie card, 101 autograph. So that's something. And Marab just won his title, and I got a 101 autograph of him as well. So I haven't seen what the value of that is, but it's fun to do this stuff.
Ronald, many years ago in a different life, before I got into this industry, I used to buy estates and sell them. And I bought an estate that had a Mickey Mantle rookie card in it. Should have kept that.
You still have it?
But
no,
the business. Ronald, the business model was flip, buy and sell, buy and sell. You could get caught up with so many things, right? Like when you're buying these estates, there's always stuff in there that's going to be that same estate. I had 5,000 Beanie Babies. So had I have kept those, I would have got slaughtered. Ultimately, the business model was buy, sell. But I ended up going to New York and selling that Mickey Mantle rookie card. It was a lot of fun. Ronald Cabang, everyone. Teddy, great show still coming up. Adam Trigger, we got some college football. Carmine Bianco, we got some NFL. You've got a what did bettors learn and a story that we're all going to rate. So let's hear it, my brother.
So I had the Falcons on Monday Night Football last night. It was a stressful game, to say the least. All's well that ends well. The drop Saquon pass when Philly probably shouldn't have passed, but it was a fine play. It was wide open. It led to the field goal, so the Phillies going to win by 6 instead of 7 and cover 5.5 instead of taking a knee with the first down. And then boom, 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 the last drive. Cousins to Mooney, Cousins to Pitts, Cousins to London. 6 plays into the end zone. 22-21. The Falcons get the money. No sweat, right? Yeah, it was stressful. And it reminded me of a story. I know I've told it before, but it's been a long time since I told this story. It comes back to my 3rd year in Vegas. My hair was still brown with a couple of grays instead of all silver. 98, the first year I was out here, I was just learning my way. 99, the second year I was out here, I finished top 10 in the Super Contest. I was on my way. I thought I had it figured out. In 2000, I won in September. October rolled around, and I got my ass kicked. 3 straight weeks. Bang, bang, bang. A little bit like last year in that regard. But back then, I didn't understand ebbs and flows. All I knew is I had had back-to-back-to-back losing weeks for the first time since I've been in Vegas. And now this last week is huge. And the one play stands out to me. Monday Night Football, Atlanta plus 6.5 at Pittsburgh. Chris Chandler versus Cordell Stewart. And Lawrence, the only time I've ever done this in my betting career, I went all in on that game. I had Atlanta money line. I had Atlanta side. And at halftime, it was 13-0 Pittsburgh. The Falcons looked awful. And I really thought that was going to be the end of my betting career. I didn't know what I was going to do when I woke up the next morning. And then in the fourth quarter, the Falcons got rolling. And the game ended with Atlanta throwing into the end zone for the win. They didn't get the win. I didn't cash the money line bets, but I got the money. Thriller. I survived the night. And lo and behold, I stayed in Las Vegas as a sports bettor and made this my career. Last night's game reminded me of that game with the thrilling finish. Lawrence, back to you. That's the closest I ever come to
10,
not
baby.
being a sports bettor.
That was a 10 out of 10. The reason, firstly, there was drama. I don't remember the game, so I didn't know whether you won or you lost. So we had drama. We had action in there. It was directly related to your career. 10 out of 10 for me. Guys, what did you think? I thought that story was amazing. Teddy, yeah, dude, last night, that I was saying to Vivian, we watched that game. Oh, God, watching a football game at my house on a primetime game, it's stunning. We're in the cabana. We got the heater going. I got the hot tub. I got the pool at 88. That's Celsius. Just incredible. But I said to Vivian, wow, I think Atlanta just turned their whole season around. And I actually, and we'll talk about this in the NFL presidential address, which I'm taping later today. I think they beat the Chiefs straight up. But anyway, I got a question I wanted to ask you. One of our listeners, Bam Golf. Bam, I love you. Thanks for joining us all the time, bro. He writes, Prez, how do you usually adjust your NFL power rankings each week? Do you use the eye test, box scores, stats? We know box scores can often tell a lie. So what do you suggest to us recreational bettors? So, Bam, just for the record, there's many handicappers who don't have power rankings. I'm one of them. I do make lists and I do rate teams, but I don't rate them from a perspective of, this minus that equals this, which is what a lot of handicappers do. But Teddy does. So, Teddy, answer that question, and then I'm going to give out what I think everyone should do as well. Go ahead, my brother.
So this is how power is. So for me, I am not a pure stats guy. There are guys that do it by rote, or that do it algorithmically, and their stats are going to fire out what the numbers are for each team every week. I'm not that guy. I absolutely take nuance into the equation. I absolutely take what I saw into the equation. I take post-game coaches' quotes in the equation. As I'm working each game at Sunday night, right after the games are over, when I'm going through the box scores and I'm going through the recaps and I'm going through everything that I can for that game, I'll adjust my numbers for those two teams, individually, and move on through the 16 games to get all 32 teams adjusted. When you first start making power ratings, it's difficult. The first year you do it, your power ratings will be useless. The second year you do it, your power ratings will actually be worth something. The answer is do it however you like to do it. Some people are all stats. Some people are all, if you're all eye test, you're going to miss stuff. So I wouldn't recommend, you need to have some statistical base in your power ratings. You do. But when it comes to how much you adjust from week to week, a lot of times the answer is less, not more. And as you do power rating adjustments week in, week out, by year 2, certainly by year 3, they'll be useful. Lawrence?
Yeah, Teddy, I could talk about this topic till we're blue in the face. I got a million questions for you, but we do have a hard out. I just want to say to everybody, and one of the things I do, look, the most important 2 things for me, period, is pace of play, like when on the clock are they snapping the ball, and yards per play. Are they playing deep? Are they playing short? I'm a totals bettor by nature. So those are the most important 2 things for me. And also on YouTube, every Sunday night when the games end, I spend 3 hours on the highlights. There's 15-minute highlight packages on every single game, almost every play, back to, just constant plays. Those are gold to watch. Teddy covers his $5 Tuesday. I told everybody I've got a play up for $5 on Thursday night. It's a 4% play. I'm on a 23-8 run on those plays. I did win my 4% on Sunday. What do you have going for the clients?
I have a single best bet in MLB today on a team that I haven't played. I went back and looked. I haven't played them once all year. I'm playing them today in mid-September. And of course, for $5, you can get my Monday Night Football winner cash last night. I expect we're going to cash again this week. Get it right now at WagerTalk.com. Only $5. WT.buzz/TC.
Brilliant stuff. Over 200 of you watching, only 63 likes. I'm going to take apart the Giants game if we get to 100 likes. I'll take apart the KC game tomorrow as well. So please hit that like button, everybody, and make sure to subscribe to our channel. Adam Trigger joining us. Adam, welcome back. How are you? How have you been?
I'm great. Thanks for having me back. I had a really good week last week across the board. I can't complain. We're in the grind of football season, but I'm still watching baseball every single day. I love September baseball. It can be difficult at times to handicap, but it's still a great time to be watching baseball. And just trying to find winners.
Well, Ad, you mentioned baseball, so let's swap the games around and go into the baseball game first. After that, we're going to look at Syracuse versus Stanford. The Giants are playing the Orioles tonight. Basically, a pick 'em in both directions. Where are we going here?
Yeah, so this game right here and this handicap is the perfect illustration of how difficult it can be to handicap baseball in the month of September. From a matchup standpoint, Prez, I love the Giants, and I'm going to give you all the reasons as to why that's the case. But of course, the Giants got swept over the weekend by the Padres, and their season it is effectively over at this point. They've lost 4 straight. They're not going to make the playoffs. So you have to gauge, what the motivation is going to be here to go on the East Coast and play good ball against the Orioles. Now, the Orioles, on the other hand, is something we talk about this in every sport all the time. Need a win does not mean you're going to win. Yet, the books always price that in. So you're almost always going to get a discount going against the team that, quote unquote, needs to win. It's overbaked into the line. It usually adds value on the other side. And I think that's what's happening with the Giants here. Now, motivation. We talked about the motivation going, west to east to play to go on a road trip, Prez, when your season's basically over. But I think playing behind Blake Snell here for the Giants might be the motivating factor, might be what they need to sort of, show up for this game. He has a phenomenal season going, and it's really kind of got it hasn't really gotten the love it deserves. The reason being, some of his season-long numbers are marred by April and May when the Giants pretty much screwed him. They brought him back from injury too early. He got rocked. It ended up causing another injury. He had to go back on the IL. But since returning from the IL on May 22nd, he has not lost a start. He has not taken the loss in any start since May 22nd. The Giants are 12-3 when he takes the mound in those 15 starts. So that might be the motivator. They play well behind him. They get up. He's their ace. He's new to the team this year, and they've gotten up when he pitches. And then my other question to you guys, because I know Teddy's going to ask me a question back, so I'll ask him a question right now. What have the Orioles done to make you think that what have the Orioles done in the last few months to suggest that they're a good bet? They've lost 7 of 10. They've been held to 3 runs or fewer in 8 of their last 10. They've been a sub 500 team since early June. So why would you want to bet the Orioles here? Albert Suarez is a guy that spent 5 years in Asia. Okay, he was in NPB for 2, Korea for 3. He has had a season that I can't even put my head around this year, but I still think on a game-to-game basis, you can take a shot at him, and Giants minus 110 makes all the sense in the world to me here.
You're the best.
So I'm not at all going to try to talk you out of the Giants. I would only play the Giants in this ballgame. I want no part of Baltimore. And I'm not even going to ask you a follow-up as a result. So, easy peasy in that regard. Let's talk some college football. Friday night, national TV affair, ESPN, Stanford and Syracuse, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 here on the left coast. The early money has come for the Orange. Opened as low as 8. Now I'm seeing as high as 10. Total sitting around 57. What do you do with Stanford and this suddenly revitalized Syracuse team? Are they worthy of this chalk lane?
I would say up to 10. I chose this for the show kind of for that reason. You referenced it. It opened. It got bet quickly. If I was going to play Syracuse here, which I haven't yet, and I don't know that this will make a client card, but I would want 10 or better. I think that's sort of like the point where you have to let it go if it goes to 10.5 or 11. I will be at the Dome on Friday night, Teddy. It is a revitalized team. The fan base is all in. The Dome is going to be sold out. So, there should be no shortage of motivation and energy behind this Syracuse team in this game. And you know what? It's been well documented on this show, Teddy, that I'm high on Syracuse this year. But I'm sort of equally willing to fade Stanford right now. And specifically, I think their pass defense gets absolutely torched here. TCU put a number on them back in week 1. Just got anything they wanted through the air. And that's a TCU team that I don't particularly like that much. I actually cashed my 5% college football play over the weekend in dramatic fashion, I will say, with Central Florida as they came back to beat TCU. But TCU's a fade for me, and they did whatever they wanted. 353 pass yards in that game, 8 for 15 on third down. And I kind of feel like Syracuse is going to have the ability to do the same thing here. Stanford defense having a hard time getting off the field. And that's just not a good recipe for success when you've got to go across the country to play a road game in what should be a hostile environment. I'll even go back to that TCU-Stanford game for a second. They should have won that game by more. TCU, that is. I believe Stanford kicked a field goal, 45-yard field goal with 30 seconds to play to cut it from 10-7 and get inside the 7.5. As far as Syracuse's offense is concerned, Kyle McCord, the only people that are still in denial that this kid is awesome are Ohio State fans that are pissed off that he is not there anymore. 2 games, 735 yards passing, 8 touchdowns to 1 interception. And something that I don't think is getting enough play here, Teddy, he's only been sacked twice. That Syracuse offensive line is holding up. There's star power on this offense. LaKin Allen, Arande Gadsden, and Pena give him 2 really good options in the passing game. He's got star playmakers, a decent enough O-line, and he's getting the ball to them. It's been apparent in both games. And Georgia Tech, everyone loved that Georgia Tech team coming into that game. Syracuse blew them out. That final score is not nearly indicative of how that game went. 14 quick points at the end for Georgia Tech to cut it to 3. So I just don't think Syracuse is getting enough love just yet. And maybe so with the market playing it up to 10, but 8 was way too low, and that was long gone. I like Syracuse here to blow this game open. I think 10 or better is good.
So how much of this is you had both these teams with kind of misleading final scores? You talked about that Stanford should have been blown out more by TCU, and that Syracuse should have beaten Georgia Tech by a bigger margin than they did. Is that a big factor in the equation in early season handicapping, misleading final scores and taking advantage of them? Or do you think that the betting markets are looking at a broader statistical profile and not so much focused on the final scores themselves?
Teddy, I'll say case-by-case basis, because you know what? Stanford was pretty competitive throughout that game with TCU. And, I just kind of referenced the fact that they kicked a field. Listen, you got to have 2 scores, right? No problem kicking a field goal to go from 10 to 7 if you need to score twice. But specifically, I do think the Syracuse final is misleading. And I know you're a quote guy. I love what Fran Brown said after the game, where he kind of put it on him. He was like, listen, that end of the game, that last 8 minutes is on me and the coaching staff. And he took all the blame for the special teams miscue. And I actually wrote down the difference in numbers for that last 8 minutes. So Georgia Tech was, really their offense was rendered quite useless for the majority of that game. They put up a third of their total yards of offense in the final 8 minutes in a 31-14 game, where they drove down the field, kind of a garbage time touchdown, onside kick, caught Syracuse totally off guard, went down another 60 yards for a score, and then Cuse got the first down and ended the game. So again, that to me, I don't think Syracuse is going to be on high alert for something like that to happen. I think they're going to play right to the end, which makes me a little bit more okay with laying the points with them here.
Adam Trigger, $5 Tuesday. What do you got going?
Yeah, so I forgot that we're doing the $5 Tuesday thing. So I had my 5% MLB play up for normal price and quickly looked in our little internal messenger, and I was like, oh, I gotta put it up for $5 now. So my 5% MLB play that goes this evening is just $5, and plus I'm up 41 units across the board in baseball since June 1st. And I hope to finish the season strong. And we've got a big one tonight. So go check that out on my page, wt.buzz/AT. Just $5.
Awesome stuff. Lots still to come. Teddy's big game breakdown. Carmine Bianco, my daily presidential address. Teddy, the microphone is yours.
Did the season start only 17 days ago for the Florida Gators? It feels like 100 years ago for Florida. Let's talk about Billy Napier's squad as they travel to Starkville to take on Mississippi State. And yes, they're road favorites in this ballgame, despite that dismal start. Right now, looking at the free WagerTalk live odds screen. Of course, I can't find the game. Florida -5.5 / -6. There are 6s popping up. The Gators are taking a little bit of money this morning. Total sitting in the 58.5 range. Now, certainly Billy Napier's job is hanging by a thread right now. The loss to Texas A&M this past weekend, they got booed off the field. Napier's quote Saturday was very disappointing and frustrating. It's important for everyone to know personally, taking ownership of that. Everything that happens within our team and organization is my responsibility. We need to do much better. The film, Napier continued, is a combination of mental errors, fundamental and technical issues, and some decision-making. No doubt we can help the players and try to put them in better positions at times. There's a lot of football left to play. Nothing will affect that more than the next game we play, right? So let's get ready to go play Mississippi State on Saturday. And look, Florida struggled along the offensive line. They struggled along the defensive line. That being said, they played Miami and Texas A&M, 2 teams that we could still be talking about when football is being played in January this year. I know they only gained 52 yards on the ground against A&M last week and gave up 310. That's domination in the trenches. That being said, Mississippi State isn't either one of those teams. I'm really interested in the player quotes more than the coach's quotes. Offensive lineman Austin Barber. We got to get out there and perform. Like Coach said, got to take the things we're working on and coach and apply them. Linebacker Derek Wingo. When things don't go your way, obviously there'll be frustration. You work really hard all week, all off season. You guys can point fingers, do whatever you want to do, but at the end of the day, it's how we execute. We talk about how we didn't execute. It's just going back on the field, going back in the film room today and throughout the week to prepare for Mississippi State. Note, all the quotes that we're getting are looking forward to this game. This is a redemption game, and getting out of town helps. And Mississippi State, look, Florida's in their third year of the rebuild. Mississippi State's in the first year of the rebuild under Jeff Lebby. They trailed Arizona State 30-3 in that ball game. They have only 298 rushing yards through 3 contests. Last year at home, they scored 14 against LSU, 17 against Bama, 3 versus Kentucky, 7 versus Ole Miss, 0-4 straight up, 0-3-1 against the spread in SEC home games. Yeah, we like Blake Shapen, the multi-year starter at Baylor. He's a decent quarterback. But Mississippi State in the trenches is not going to be able to dominate Florida the way their 2 step-up opponents have done already. I get it. It's not easy to lay points with the Gators this week. Let's do it anyway. Florida, -5.5/-6 is the only way I can look in this one. And, of course, I got to let you guys know about the great offer, not just $5 Tuesdays. Today, $5 Tuesday, every capper's got a $5 play. But in addition, you can take $100 off any college football / NFL combo pass. Just use promo code FBALL100. Again, promo code FBALL100 at checkout. Get you $100 off any combo pass for college and NFL. Great time to get on board. There's a big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy covers. Listen, I'm going to throw a wrinkle in your big game breakdown. If you guys want a winner this Saturday, Mississippi State, and I'll tell you why, my handicap. I was on Atlanta, 5% play, first game of the season. I lost. They won last night. I was on Mississippi State, 5% play, first 5% of the season. They lost, so inevitably they will win on Saturday. There's my handicap on the Mississippi State-Florida game. Carmine Bianco joining us. Carm, you know how that works, right? I mean, my handicap is almost guaranteed, right? Volume. Okay, Teddy, you know how my handicap works, right?
Your handicap is as useful to the audience as nothing, as dust.
Okay. Dust in the wind. All it is dust in the wind. Carmine!
Please get Carmine.
Carmine, I hate when I sing, bro. I get no love when I sing.
Yes, important thing. All right.
Okay, Carm, let's
maybe
go,
someone
baby.
burned down the wires again. Jeez.
That Dan,
okay.
dude. That Dan.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a couple things, Lawrence. I guess we're going to talk NFL football first. I just wanted to do a quick review of this game because I looked at this line, and I did it last week. I like the line. I released it as a 5% play. I'm not saying this is a 5% play, but this is going to make it onto my client card. And sometimes you wait for the injury reports, and maybe this line is where it is because of the status of Justin Herbert. But he's gone from he's now probable from questionable. The X-rays came back negative on his lower right leg. This is Pittsburgh -2. Now, when you look at this game, I think a lot of people, without diving into it, look at the fact that, well, you got the Chargers, West Coast team traveling back to the East Coast again. They never left the East Coast after their easy win over Carolina this past weekend. They've stayed in Charlotte. They're staying in Charlotte between weeks 2 and weeks 3, 7 days here, a mini training camp, team bonding exercises. And it's a team that's 2-0, and they're loving the life right now, at least 2 weeks into the season, under the Jim Harbaugh rule. I think their offense is more balanced. It didn't look balanced in week 2 because they ran the ball 45 times, only passed 20, or 44 times, only passed 20 times. But that's because they had such a big lead. They were running the ball. The game previous, 26 passing attempts, 25 rushing attempts against the Raiders in that one. More balanced one, DK Dobbin. The guy is just lights out right now. 135 in the first game, 131 in the second. This is just one where I like the Chargers. I'm not sold on Pittsburgh as of yet because I don't think they've faced a quarterback running back duel like these two. And more importantly, this is their first game at home. They've been on the road first couple games. Travel to Atlanta, travel to Denver, come back. So I think you lose a day of practice somewhere in between there in that second game. I'm not sold on this Pittsburgh thing. I'm not overreacting. I'm reacting to what I've seen the first couple of weeks. If you watch the games, it's tough to make a case that the Chargers aren't better than they are or they were last year. This is also a Pittsburgh team that finished like last year 19th in rushing yards allowed. If the Chargers can establish a run, dominate that possession clock like they did on Sunday, you give Justin Fields at home in his first game for Pittsburgh a little less time on that field. And for a team that's not really scoring touchdowns, I'd rather take the team that I know can score and can score consistently. I want to thank Adam Trigger for rattling the cage on Teddy, because if Teddy follows up, I'm not sure if I've got an answer for him.
Oh, I'm following up. I'm all rattled. Here's the question.
Yes.
Let's talk about, look, so LA just beat a AAA team in Carolina. Carolina is the worst team in the NFL. And isn't the prevailing, just like if you just swept the White Sox and now you're placing a real team, aren't you a little bit overvalued going into that series? Aren't the Chargers a little bit overvalued because they dominated a team that is, power rated 32nd out of every, wherever your power ratings are, the Panthers are last in the NFL right now. So you're kind of buying high on the Chargers as a result, yes?
I'm not sure if we're buying high, Teddy. I would think that if the books, and they're not going to make Pittsburgh a home dog in their first game of the season, but they very well could have been, and I think that's where the overreaction comes in. If the books made the Chargers a -2.5, -3-point favorite, where do you think all the money is going to come on Sunday? It's going to come during the week on Pittsburgh and drive that line down. I think the line is where it is. I think the fact that as the news comes out and we see the Wednesday practice, we see the Thursday practice, and Herbert's in there and he's fine, that this line probably starts to drop. And you might not think that, getting +2 or getting +1 is important, but I think it is. There are games last season. You ask Kelly Stewart, because she absolutely loves the games landing on 1. There are games that land on, on that single
17,
point.
16.
We saw a couple of these.
17, 16, 21, 20, 14, 13. Yep. I'm with you, Carm. I'm jumping in because I want to say my piece. Teddy, I think this Carm's play is correct. I think the Chargers win. And I'm curious, Teddy. I'm curious. And I grant you that Carolina is the worst team in the league. Where do you rate Denver?
Not much better than Carolina. But let me know, because it's more than a field goal. I've got the Panthers 2.5 points worse than anybody else.
We got 3 minutes while Teddy. Well, we got 3 minutes while Teddy's looking at that. Listen, dude, you're as good a bettor as there is. You're one of my favorite people on the planet. You're bred at 4 points better.
5 points.
You're
better.
bred.
I have Denver 5 points better than Carolina.
Okay,
but I have Carolina priced in a way that I'm not ever tempted to take them.
Yeah, dude, I agree. But there's lots of money coming in on Carolina currently, right now, with Bryce Young being bent.
Factor.
We'll
talk about that on the NFL opening line report at the top of the hour. Yeah. Carm, in the meantime, we got
a couple of minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. So I'll make this quick. The Champions League obviously kicks off today. The proper tournament. There've been a lot of qualifying up until now. Brand new format, 36 teams. It is no longer group stages. It is every team plays 8 games, 4 home, 4 away. Real Madrid are at home and they play Stuttgart, a German Bundesliga team. This team won the Champions League last year. Their 5th time in the last 10 years that they've won the Champions League trophy, 15 times overall. And what do they do in the offseason? They just go out and get the best player in the world, Kylian Mbappe from PSG, and add him to Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo. This team is fantastic. Last year in the group stages, 6-0. 16-7 goal differential, 3-0 at home, 8-2 goal differential. They take every game seriously, and they will here. They're laying 1.5 goals. They're starting to play so much better in La Liga. 5 games, 3 wins, 2 draws. This team is starting to put it together, and it's bad news for Stuttgart today. Real Madrid -1.5.
Promote, Carm.
Look
promote.
for the kill shot from Real Madrid. in what is that? What league is that?
This is the Champions League. So it's a
Champions
top
League play.
club competition in Europe. Yeah. One quick promotion,
Carmine
guys.
Bianco.
Obviously,
Wait.
What do you have
He's
going
got to
for
promote.
$5 Tuesday?
yeah. I've got a $5 play, goes at 3 o'clock today. You guys can pick that up. And as well too, I just want to make NHL and NFL. They put together a fantastic package. NHL is like 17 days away from the opening puck drop in Prague between New Jersey and Buffalo. You can get the rest of NHL, all of NHL, and the rest of the NFL season. We picked up 9 units this past weekend. We're starting to motor along as well there too. You can pick them up all for one great price on my page. This deal is good until Sunday at midnight.
Sunday at midnight, you can take advantage of his 2-for-1 offer from Carmine Bianco. And that's going to wrap it for the Tuesday edition of Wager Talk Today. We'll do it again tomorrow, same time, same channel, 9 a.m. here left coast, noon for you back east. Stay tuned right now for Lawrence's presidential address. And at the top of the hour, Joe Ranieri is going to be filling in with myself. We'll do the NFL opening line report right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Cheers.
Welcome, everybody, to the daily presidential address bonus content for all the people who watched Wager Talk Today live. I'm going to take apart the New York Giants versus the Cleveland Browns. I will give you both the side and total just to let everybody know. I am filming the NFL presidential address for week 3 later on today. It should be up by 6 p.m. Eastern today. Over 10,000 of you watched that show last week. Such love. I'm so appreciative of it. And this week, I'm adding a teaser of the week into that segment. Okay, let's get into this game. New York Giants are playing Cleveland. The line now is the New York Giants plus 6.5, a total of 38.5. And money is coming in on the Giants right now, and I get it. This line will keep dropping all week long, and I totally agree with that. I like the Giants here. If you've been following me, guys, you know I have a hate on for the Cleveland Browns. Firstly, I can't stand the franchise for picking up Deshaun Watson. And secondly, I think this team is completely overrated. We bet on Jacksonville in week 2 against Cleveland, and I was wrong. Cleveland ended up covering that line, but I don't know if that was a reflection of how good Cleveland is, or more likely how disappointing Jacksonville is right now. This Cleveland team has not earned the right to have a minus 6.5 with them. This Giants team, man, they should have won against Washington last week. They lost that game literally because they did not have a kicker. Now, that's totally on Brian Daboll, who actually had an extra spot on the roster, knew Gano was had hamstring issues and still didn't add a kicker. But regardless of that, this Giants team was able to move the ball well. And really, the game should have been tied if they had a kicker, and they could have won by 3 at the end of the game with a kicker. Instead, they went for it on 4th and 4 and dropped ball. Really should have won that football game. With that said, take it with a grain of salt. The Washington defense is the worst in the league, and Cleveland does have a good D. One thing I really like about this Giants team, however, is their defense. They're running an aggressive program on D. They're blitzing. They're in the backfield. I think they're going to give Deshaun Watson fits. I mean, there is a very good chance Deshaun Watson might need a massage after this game. If anybody knows anyone who wants to help him out, let us know. Let's bottom line this. Neither team can score consistently. Both teams will be in the bottom half in the league in points gained and in the top half of the league in points allowed. The Giants so far have averaged only 12 points per game, and none of those games were against this Cleveland D. Cleveland, they've averaged 17.5 points per game, and I think that's higher than what they will average at the end of the year. This game has horrible written all over it, 17-12 with 5 field goals. That seems about right to me, and that is 10 points below the total. There is no reason to overthink this play or, frankly, underthink it. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored, which is why I like the under here. I also don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored, which is also why I like the dog here. For the record, from a side perspective, I think this number is just too high, especially when playing Cleveland, who really struggles to score. Plus, real quick, both Ward and Garrett are questionable. Same with Njoku. All questionable. Now, they might play, but they're clearly injured. Plus, half of Cleveland's O-line is injured, and their O-line stinks to begin with. Take the New York Giants and the under. Let's cash both. I'm Lawrence Presman. Thanks for watching the Daily Presidential Address.